Welcome in, everyone. I'm trying a new video here, previewing the Thursday night football game for fantasy football. Just going to toss this out there, see how it goes. If you like my content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's jump into my Thursday night fantasy football preview between the Titans and the Steelers. First, let's start with quarterbacks. First, Will Levis. I have him at quarterback 16 this week. He had 4 touchdowns last week. You're more than welcome to play him, but you got to recognize that Will Levis is not very experienced. We've seen one game, so I can't rank him as a QB1, but the upside's there. I'm not afraid of the Pittsburgh matchup. I got him quarterback 16. In contrast, Kenny Pickett, quarterback 20. I know those ranks seem close, but they're not. Kenny Pickett is coming off an injury. I can't risk it. I don't want to play Kenny Pickett. I'm too afraid there's going to be a re-injury. I didn't think he'd be cleared for this game. I'm actually stunned that he's like fully healthy. So no Kenny Pickett for me this week, pretty much under any circumstances. Moving into running backs. Derrick Henry, the only must-play running back in this game. I have him at running back 13. He got more work last week, and he wasn't traded at the trade deadline. And I think the move to Will Levis shows that they are planning on, trying their best in these games. Henry had 22 carries last week and 4 catches. So a little bit of a floor and, of course, the ceiling. Running back 13. He's going to be a start in almost any format. Then let's move into the Steelers running backs. Najee Harris, RB28. Jaylen Warren, RB30. Najee Harris had one game recently where he kind of took over the backfield. And then Jaylen Warren came right back and was back. Last week, Najee Harris had 7 carries for 13 yards, 5 receptions for 42, which is kind of strange. Jaylen Warren, was involved in the passing game, and then he wasn't involved in the passing game. But for the year, Warren has almost exactly double the receptions and double the yards of Najee Harris. Najee Harris has a little under double the carries and double the rushing yards of Jaylen Warren. Their equivalent plays. Najee Harris is probably slightly more likely to score, although they both have 1 touchdown each on the year. Jaylen Warren probably has a slightly higher floor, I guess, although last week Najee Harris had receptions. You don't want to play either one. Tennessee is a tough run defense. These are sits for me. Speaking of sits, I'm disappointed a little that Derrick Henry didn't get traded because I wanted to see what Tyjae Spears could do. Tyjae Spears has actually been solid all year. I've really liked what I've seen, and I thought he deserved a chance to get a bigger role. I mean, he averages 5.8 yards a carry. 5.8. But he's only had 34 carries. He does have 18 catches in 7 games, only 120 yards on those catches, although that's not bad. But I do think he's good, and I was just hoping he'd get a little bit more of an opportunity. But it's very clear that the Titans are focusing on putting their best team out there, which for today is still Derrick Henry. But if you're in Dynasty League, keep an eye on Tyjae Spears. This is a buy low opportunity. Derrick Henry's a free agent after this year. It's only going to take one game from Tyjae Spears to implant him in people's minds forever. So make sure you don't forget him. But of course, can't start him this week. Now, into the receivers. We're actually, of receivers in this game, I have Diontae Johnson the highest, not DeAndre Hopkins. And we'll get into that in a second. But Diontae Johnson, he, I believe, had 14 targets last week, and George Pickens only had 1 catch. So he is the target hog. And I think we're back to kind of old, the old system. 8 for 85 on 14 targets. And this was kind of the first game where I felt like he was 100%. He was injured in week 1. Or week 2, and then came back in his first game and then wasn't the same. But this week he looked 100%. So against the Titans, you can pass on them. I think that with Kenny Pickett being hurt, he's going to have to lean on Diontae Johnson. I am at wide receiver 21. I'm fully confident in playing him. Now, before I heard about DeAndre Hopkins' toe injury, I had him inside my top 20. But the toe injury is brutal. We saw Terry McLaurin, toe injury, totally limited. And then 4 weeks later, all of a sudden, he's totally healthy. Now, and looks much better. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know exactly what the problem is, but I'm not just going to rank DeAndre Hopkins in the top 15. We're talking about someone who's an older player who missed practice on Wednesday. I think wide receiver 22 is actually kind of generous. I'm a little scared even with him at wide receiver 22. But given that Will Levis threw 4 touchdowns, DeAndre Hopkins had 3 touchdowns last week, it's hard to sit him. But, I'm at wide receiver 22 instead of like 17 or 18 like I might without the foot injury. Next is George Pickens, wide receiver 29. He had 1 catch. I mean, that's great for him. That was a touchdown, but you can't trust him in PPR. The floor is nothing. So wide receiver 29 means he's a play in most formats. There's a lot of teams on bye. A lot of strong players are out this week. So if you have George Pickens, you're probably having to play him. But that doesn't mean I'm happy about it. That doesn't mean I'm excited to play George Pickens in my lineup. But unfortunately, you probably have to. Lastly, we talk about Treylon Burks, goose egg last week, wide receiver 61. Don't play him. I think he's a bust. For this year, for Dynasty, I'm just kind of over Treylon Burks. He did nothing last week. It's just one of those careers where I just feel like it might be a what might have been or what could have been situation. Can't start him unless he shows something better. And then lastly, we'll get into tight ends. And then I guess I can touch on DST a little bit. Chig Okonkwo, talking about disappointment. He has been one of the biggest disappointments, I think, of any tight end this year. He hasn't done anything. He has no touchdowns and 145 yards in 7 games, 21 receptions, 3 catches a game. Honestly, 3 catches a game for a tight end is not awful, but 21 yards a game is really bad. So he hasn't done much. Nothing really exciting with Chig Okonkwo. I have him at tight end 21. And then it's interesting with Pat Freiermuth out, Connor Heyward, not Darnell Washington, has been the workhorse tight end. He's played over 75% of snaps in the last 2 games. Don't play Connor Heyward. I have him at tight end 25. But in Dynasty, I actually don't hate him as an ad. He's actually looked pretty good. So just keep him in mind, and just keep in mind that Darnell Washington is not it. As for DSTs, and then we'll get out of here. You can play the Steelers. They're the far better defense. I have them at defense 6. Tight ends, do not play them. They're bad defense. I have them at defense 22. Pittsburgh also runs a lot, doesn't turn the ball over much. So tight ends are not an exciting defense at all. Well, I appreciate everyone for watching. Just wanted to throw this out there, try something new. If it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you liked it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also hit the notifications bell so you can be notified about future content. Keep checking out the channel for the rest of the videos throughout the week. And I will see you all later. Peace out.